Hopefully this will work. Today, we're live. Welcome everyone to a second attempt at the BIQU B1 3D printer live stream. For everyone that's a little bit confused about what's going on, about what I did have and what I didn't have and what happened and what I got notifications for, basically I tried to do this all yesterday and, well, it didn't work. Let me know if you can see this. I've not seen a comment to say anything yet. Oh, please say it's working. Aha. So yes, when I tried yesterday, the whole audio was just totally broken. There were breaks in it. It was sounded horrible. So I spent about probably 2 hours troubleshooting, trying different settings, thinking that I must have read something when I originally set it up, or I'd just done something wrong or stupid or plugged something in. Basically, I went full circle, tested everything, basically one thing at a time, like removing cables, trying different things, trying that, trying this. Everything on its own seemed to work. Plugged it all back in, as I normally do, in exactly the same way, with exactly the same settings, and then it worked. So I was tremendously happy that it worked. I was less happy that I basically changed nothing, and then it decided to work. So, you know, just a little bit frustrating, but we managed to squeeze it in at the weekend, and this is kind of the normal time anyway, so maybe it just didn't want to work on Saturdays. So, yes, now we're here again with the BIQU B1. Now, normally these printers get sent to me by companies. In this case, I actually purchased this one myself, so don't have to thank anyone. But there is a link in the description below if you do want to buy one. Obviously, I'm not suggesting you do that before we even look at it. But if it is something you're interested in, there's an affiliate link down below. It doesn't cost you any more, but it means I get a kickback from, I think I linked Banggood. So they'll give me a small percentage of your purchase as a thank you for sending you that. So, yes. Tristan, I really hope you're joking. Everyone else said it's fine, so I'm just going to carry on. So yeah, that's what's happened for anyone that's a little bit confused about what's going on. Thank you very much, of course, to everyone who did help with that slight troubleshooting problem I was having. Let's get everything configured so we can start unboxing this machine. So this BIQU B1 is, of course, from BIQU. I get really confused about what the actual company structure is between BIQU, BIQU Hope. I think BIQU is the shop, but then Big Tree Tech is also part of sort of the same company. It's all a little bit confusing. Excuse me. I'm expecting, I think there's a Big Tree Tech board in this machine. So we shall find that as we go. Again, we've got this classic black styrofoam. Ships well, but not recyclable. So if you're very interested in reducing your footprint of single-use plastics, then this may not be an ideal machine for you because this is single-use. But you can use it as like a damping material. So if you want to reuse it, maybe as feet or under other printers, it can be quite good for that. Don't know too much about this machine. It's kind of Ender 3 looking, hence I'm doing it around the same time as Ender 3 V2, which is this one behind me. What we did last week, if you want to see that. But yes, it has some interesting features, which we'll be taking a look at as we go. Extrusion based, obviously, I'll just remove there. This is a big rubber tube with a lead screw in. No gloves on yet. I'll put some gloves on in a minute if I remember. Small amount of PLA, 50 grams. It's nicely sealed, so hopefully should be still plenty dry. PLA doesn't tend to absorb too much moisture anyway. Accessories, 2 GB micro SD cards with no branding on it, an SD card adapter, and an SD card reader. That's a little bit confusing. So instead of providing micro SD card reader, oh, it is a mic. Huh? Maybe it's not. Just look. That looks like, okay. So you get an adapter, and the USB thing. So this feels all a little bit chintzy, but hopefully it works. Yeah. It's quite a tight fit. Anyway, you do get those three things with it. USB cable, presumably for doing direct connection if you need to. This is a carriage, presumably for the X-axis. This is another carriage, presumably for Y. Got a small user manual here. Packing lists. This is going to be the instruction manual by the look of it. Build volume says 235, 235, 270, so that's 220 to 2250. So a little bit bigger, not a lot. I don't know if you would make a purchasing decision based on that difference in size, because you obviously have to also think a little bit about usable area in terms of bed flatness and such. A large bed that's not very flat will probably have very little usable area versus a smaller bed that is flat. So this is the box. If anyone's following on Twitter, this is the box that has the big hole in the bottom. Yeah, you can see here. So something clearly smashed in there, but it looks like from where I just opened that that's only hitting this. So if this assembly is okay, it's fairly solid assembly, then hopefully the whole thing's okay. Not ideal, but looks like it shouldn't be a major problem. This looks like some lubricant on that as well already. Large bag of little bits. Looks like they're all labelled, so that should help with assembly for anyone unfamiliar with screw sizes and such. Some partial assemblies here as well. Whole selection of screws. Got a couple of nozzles. They are strange looking nozzles. Let's just do this one. Yeah, they're really wide. Anyway, I think we'll get to those in just a little bit. USB Type-C cable for step 17. Let's not spoil the fun and find out what step 17 is all about. Tools, so it looks like you get some side cutters, spanner, some hex keys, and a couple of zip ties. Another suspicious step C assembly. This is a cable spool holder. Another EU plug. Did I accidentally buy EU plugs again? What a waste. Another piece of the spool holder. In the end, got a stepper motor which seems to have something sticking out. Okay, I think it's just some packaging. Number of brackets in the end here. This has all got like blue plastic on it. Man, this sheet metal work is interesting. That's not particularly great quality. They've slotted it, but the slots are right over the bend. That's like sheet metal fabrication 101. Don't do it. Reasonably sturdy though, maybe. Again, they've done, oh man. Okay. This is not great. This is a bit, let's see if I can get it on this camera. Which was the bad side? This side? Oh, come on, Mr. Camera, please. My hands look really pale. White balance on this camera is a little bit different. The sparkly makes it really difficult, I think, for the camera to focus. You can see how the bends, the holes, the slots are right round here. That's just, why is this not a little bit longer and the slots just positioned somewhere where they're actually useful? So this is the hot end assembly with a 3D printed duct of which the print quality is not fantastic, I must say. No, it's not plugged into anything. So we've got this down here. Please focus. Please. Please. Come on. There we go. Yeah, it looks like PETG actually rather than ABS even. We'll have to see how functional that is as a duct. And then it looks like this will be the last thing, the assembly in the bottom, of which there's this weird belt that's sticking out. That does not look good. Okay, I'm seeing some problems. This end of a belt looks like it should probably be attached to something. So okay. Might need to take a look at this. Hopefully it's not damaged permanently. But this looks like something that should have been assembled is not quite assembled. And that's going to be it for the contents of the box. So, oh my lordy. Okay, I've never seen a sheet quite as bendy as that. That's really, really thin. I do have, so this is the BIQU spring steel sheet, heated steel sheet. Like this one is what I had previously. They sent it to me with the Big Tree Tech GTR for the Formbot project. And this is probably, to be fair, actually a bit thick, but man, you can you can probably hear how thin it is. In fact, it's probably causing absolute devastation for the microphone, so apologies if that is the case. But I don't know if it's going to be too flexible. I think the challenge with its flexibility is ensuring that it can hold prints down. It's a little bit grubby as well. I mean, would this one fit? Is this the same size? That comes up fairly similarly. Not a particularly strong magnet on the bed. And there's no way to align this either, so it's evidently a little bit hit and miss. I don't believe this is a rebadge printer. I think BIQU have actually designed this one. I'm not 100%. It's difficult to keep track of exactly who's designing what and who's copying who, to be quite honest. Oh, yes. That's supposed to be attached under there, and that does not look very easy to get to. Well, this is never going to be as simple as it was supposed to be, is it? Oh, no. Do I have to... Come on, Adam. Think of a way that I don't have to remove this entire assembly to get this belt back in the right place. Oh, dear. Oh dear. Looks like it's got a little tensioning mechanism, which is reasonable. Let's have a go here and see if we can get this belt sorted. Oh dear, this is not a good... I feel like I might have to do quite a bit of disassembly here. Let's take this sheet off. In fact, this might protect that magnet a bit better than... So, well, we were going to take it apart anyway, let's be honest, so... Let's do that. It's a good point. I may do what you just suggested, sliding the bed off the end. It's a good idea. Thank you very much. Okay, so on the sides here, I'm seeing transflash card, which is micro SD, USB, and then another USB, which is for that little blue cable we saw earlier. Little blue cable? Starting to not be able to talk already. And another flash card. I can see the control board though, so hopefully this is going to be all the stuff that we're looking for. Ta-da! So, what have we got inside? Ooh. They are not 2208s. They are also not 2209s. The stepper drivers are TMC 2225. It's a new one on me. Don't know much about 2225s, to be quite honest. Oh, that cable, the thing I was turning is for the earth cable, so I'm probably just going to leave that where it is. So the main control board is the BIQU Tech SKR version 1.4. As I said, with those 4 TMC 2225 stepper drivers. So is 2225 a variety of 2208? So it is basically 2208 with a slightly different design for this removable layout. There you go. It's got these. Come on, please, please, please. Please, please, please. Yeah, focus is not being my best friend today. So this chip on the bottom, as expected, TMC 2225. All the connectors fairly nicely labelled, which is good to see. Looks like there's a pre-wired connection for a probe in here as well, so if you want to do, that looks like 3+2, so presumably suitable for BL Touch. You got X, probably that's Y, Z, standard end stops. NeoPixel, is that NeoPixel LEDs? Presumably. And then the screen on the front is the BIQU Tech B1 TFT35 version 3. So it's look, maybe they have a very slight variety of the TFT35 specifically for this printer. I think the addition of the USB and micro SD card on the side make it a little bit different to the standard version. And that connector is different as well. And I think actually quite a few of this arrangement is different, because I was looking at one just the other day. So functionality wise, I'm expecting it to be basically identical to the TFT35, but slightly different plugs to be more suitable for this internal layout that they've designed. Power supply looks like a fairly generic unit. There doesn't even seem to be a Chinese named brand on it at all. It's totally nameless. So could be anything. In terms of wiring, they've not used necessarily perfect colours for everything. Prefer brown and blue for live neutral, and then black red for 24 volts. But yeah, it's not the end of the world. At least they have done ground correctly with yellow and green. That's pretty good to see. It has rather got a fan, and there is a separate fan in here as well, which hopefully is not going to be too noisy. These connectors in here look pretty dodgy. Blimey. Okay, I'm going to take a closer look at that because that looks pretty suspect. So down on the edge of the Big Tree Tech board, I've just noticed here, it looks like they've got incorrect use of terminals for these types of blocks. Oh no, it's just a flat connector, that's fine. I thought they put like fork connectors or something into a screw terminal, which wouldn't have been particularly impressive, but this red one doesn't look... Yeah, actually, this is not particularly good. It doesn't actually fit, it's just kind of jammed in. And they don't fit width-wise, so they're going to make a really bad connection. That seems a bit unsafe, to be honest. So basically the problem here is, see if I can show you. Yeah, I mean, you can see from there on the camera, but size-wise might be a bit of a challenge. So here, these are the two power inputs for this control board. Right here, positive, negative. You really can't see that, it's far too far away. See if I can get it a little bit closer. Not this bit, down here. There you can sort of see that in here. So you've got positive and negative here, and obviously the width of these connectors will determine the width of the wire and stuff that you can put into them. But these spade style connectors, which are going into, the width of the metallic part on the red one is a little bit too wide, so it doesn't, instead of just clamping flat, it's kind of sitting at an angle, which means it'll clamp like that and won't clamp down for a better surface contact. And the width of this plastic bit is also wider than the connector, which means they don't sit next to each other properly. So I think they really do have some, I think they could probably improve that. I would be a little bit concerned about heating in the long term, because this is not going to sit next to this wire properly. It's in there for now, that's okay. And then the terminals next to it are just bare wires. Okay, so that's the insides all ripped apart. Now, where was the screw that I... Oh, was this super long screw? I think this back one's going to be a little bit easier actually. Hopefully this is going to work. Oh, there we go, cool. So hopefully now we can slide the bed off. Oh, of course, this end stop switch is now in the way. Ah, man. Maybe I should have just done the other end. Okay, I give up on that end. There's too much stuff there. That's not the right way to go. You did tell me to do the front, and I ignored you. Sorry. Should have just listened. I thought because the tensioner was on the front, I thought it would have been a good idea to do the back, but evidently not. Oh man, is this... Why is the tensioner held down separately to everything else? Why? Why? Oh. That entire rail's basically just come off, so let's just do that instead. Oh no, that's the... Okay, sure, we did it. Bizarre. Okay. Oh man. I don't have any idea how that belt could have slipped out of there. That's ridiculous. So I'm going to need a new zip tie. I think I did have some that was on hand. Here we go. Thank you for your compliment of my Allen keys. I'm pretty happy with them. They're not perfect, but they are quite nice. I think for their belts, they really should just make something that's not quite so temperamental. Hang on, this is odd. Why is that? Why have they... Why even... Man, you just got to wonder sometimes. Okay. Is this going to be able to... Okay, right. What on earth is going on here? I'm just going to redo this belt because this is super backwards. They've put the belt, they've assembled the belt like the backwards way around, so they're smooth side to smooth side, so they can slip past each other. If you just do them teeth to teeth, then there's basically zero chance of it ever slipping. Hopefully that's not going to cause other issues that I've not foreseen. Because then I'm going to look stupid, but it was looking stupid before, so. Wow, it feels really warm today. I have literally zero confidence in this belt staying on here. Why would you... There's nothing at all to stop it coming off. It's no wonder it slipped off, is it? looks to me like this belt was never assembled properly, because the first belt is kind of permanently deformed where it was wrapping around, whereas the other one looks like it's never been touched. So that normally suggests it hasn't been touched. Not a too great a start so far, hey? This almost looks now like it's not going to be long enough. This is 100% not long enough. Is that why they didn't bother to assemble it properly? Because the belt isn't fucking long enough. Excuse my French. How difficult is it to get the belt length correct? I don't think even this tiny little bit that I've got left is going to be enough. It's just too short. Oh man. Just as well I have hundreds of feet, well not hundreds of feet, many feet, meters of spare. Oh, this one should be enough actually. Cool, let's go with that. I think that one will be long enough. Right, attempt number 3. Sort of 2, sort of 3, not really sure. Not a great start, eh? What's the belt length like? This one is a fair bit longer. Fortunately now we're going to have to do a test fit and then recut stuff, because otherwise we won't know what the right length is. There's another belt in the bag, hopefully that's the right length. Zip tie, zip tie, zip tie, zip tie. Oh, that's one of the rubbish zip ties. Let's change that, because that one will probably just break. Can we maybe chill out a little bit? Otherwise, people are just going to get muted or banned. So this belt's going to be plenty long enough. I just don't want to cut it before I know what the length really needs to be. So I need to kind of test fit, get an approximate length, and then I'll be able to do something a little bit. I'll be able to cut it down to a little bit more sensible length. That's another rubbish zip tie. Why are there rubbish zip ties in the bag of good zip ties? Too long. Too long this way. Still too long. Where's that? There it is. Come on, man, please. Okay, that looks like it could be a functional length. Right. Let's tighten that. I'm going to give myself a little bit of slack just in case. Hopefully that doesn't mess up with the motion too much. Well, obviously the original one was too short. So there we go. Where on earth did this spacer come from? Oh. It's on here because this is way too long. Belt's too long. As I suspected, because of the... wow, I'm really warm. Sorry, I'm just going to open a window, try and get some more. Try and reduce the temperature a bit. It's very stuffy in here at the moment. Yeah, so because of the way that it's all arranged, if the belt is too far back on the teeth side, then I have to disassemble so much. Just, man, this is a pain, isn't it? And the belt's come off. Wow, this... right. That can go on there. That has to be cut short, but at least we can be fairly confident it's the right size now. Hopefully that's not a problem, because if it is, it's a problem. Come on. Oh, wait, is this one? No. I don't know anything about the hot end yet. We'll get to there when we get to there. At this point, it could take a little while because, man, this is not great. I mean, if everything fitted, it would. If that belt was the right length, then this assembly is probably okay, but it wasn't, unfortunately. Once it's on there, they should stay on because there's no forces in that direction. But get them on there in the first place, not quite so easy, and now this end won't go back on. Which is the end I took out? This one. There's a weird sound. this? Okay, it's not the biggest problem. Let's carry on. Haven't even started assembly yet. Right. So I think we've covered this inside sufficiently now. Don't think I want to go over this anymore. Slight issue here, otherwise not too bad. Could be better, but it's not too bad for the kind of price we're looking at. Oh, did that just... beta testing. Yeah. Sometimes I do wonder. It is their early, well, it is their first printer, I think, so maybe we can cut them some slack, but honestly, having the belt the wrong length, not particularly great. Right. Shall we start some assembly? I reckon it's about time. Let's grab some gloves. Oh, I put them all back, so I'm gonna... yeah, I'm gonna grab some quickly. Be a few seconds. Oh. Still obviously got no wireless microphone, so... Tripping around with this very long cable, not ideal, but it does kind of work sometimes. Apart from obviously times where the audio just doesn't work. But to be honest, a wireless solution probably would have made that whole kind of issue even worse. So let's get on with the assembly anyway. Where's the manual? Okie dokie. Step 1. Plug the heated bed cable in. Interesting step 1. No strain relief at all on the bed cable, so... Not expecting that to last very long without some interesting problems. It's quite long as well. It's probably longer than it needs to be, and no strain relief. It is a clip cable, so it won't come out, but I would expect some issues in the long run. Step 1, step 2, 2. Step 2, 1. Okay, this is really odd arrangement. Step 1, step 2, 1, step 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Step 2.1. There are two M5 threaded holes in the end of the 2040, which is used for mounting M5x16 hex socket head screws. It's all folding up. I much prefer the Creality assembly manual, to be fair. I think we're probably going to need both of these eventually. Not that. Do want that. This. So this. Oh yeah, I was supposed to be using the tools that were included. Well, yeah, I didn't. So hexagonal isolation column. M5 by 18. 525. M5 by 16. Hex socket head screws. It doesn't say button head, but these are the button head type. I had a similar caper, the Alpha Wise U30. Yeah. It's funny because it gets, I swear, like all the major reviewers always comment on strain relief. If they don't, then they should. But I'm pretty sure most do, because I do watch those as well. And for a company like BIQU/BigTree Tech, whoever it really is, making a printer, you'd think they'd look to reviews of like what other manufacturers do wrong to make sure they get it right so that they can sell to the printers that were done badly. That's like, I don't know. M4 threaded holes. So we've got a totally different type of screw for the next bit on this really weird threaded hole, which is not a hole but is. What I'm liking so far, what I've just kind of noticed in the process of doing this, is that I'm not having to turn the printer over and do some weird assembly maneuver like I had to with the Ender 3. And to be honest, the Prusa Mini suffered with that problem a little bit as well. Although the Prusa Mini is only 4 screws, it wasn't necessarily the easiest assembly. Number of screws does not necessarily equate to easiest. Wow, this hole is just not really well threaded. Sorry, terrible angle. The sidewinder one is just behind me. I haven't actually used it that much, sadly. I used it actually to print quite a lot of, the face mask stuff. Well, there's a lot of slop in these, isn't there? But I've not used it much generally. This can move. Okay, so given the amount that this can move, it gives obviously some, it allows for adjustment, but it also therefore allows for incorrect assembly, or not very good assembly, I should say. It looks like we're threading into very thin steel. No, there must be some nut on the other side. It's reasonably. Its lists, if we just go quickly to the top down, on this assembly manual, step 2, do this, do this, do this. These are the parts you're going to need. This needs to be here, so you get the bits and then do the things. Putting the things that you need after doing all the things is not very helpful. Anyway, let's go back to this close-up shot. Build volume is 235, 270, so it is a little bit bigger than the Ender 3 in theory, although the bed, I believe, is the same size. The Ender 3 bed is bigger than the 220 build volume. We need to really kind of check exactly what the physical build volume is rather than just the size of the bed and how high the Z-axis can move. If you can't actually print using some of that build plate, then it doesn't matter what the size it is if you can't use it, if that makes sense. This had a hole in. They both have a hole in. Oh, have I put it in the wrong way around, or have I got lucky? I think it didn't matter for that one. So this one, the hole needs to be this side, this way, onto here. Boom. The machining quality in general seems less good than on the Ender 3. But as I said, I do quite like that the assembly is kind of being done separate to the machine, and you don't have to do any weird turning it over and mucking about with it. Am I using... I'm using gloves because I don't like getting oily, greasy stuff on my hands. It makes my hands itch, so I avoid it for that reason. It does make assembly like twice as difficult because the gloves are kind of slippery, so it makes everything really difficult to hold. So if I'm dropping loads of things, it's not because I don't know how to use my own fingers. It's because they're kind of slippery and the gloves don't fit perfectly well, so gripping things can be a little bit difficult. It's worth noting that although these two screws here, these M4 ones and these M5 ones are obviously different screws, different size, different shape, the hex head is the same size, so it means you're using the same tool, which is actually quite good from an assembly point of view. It means you're not having to pick up and use multiple different tools at the same time. So I don't think that's a bad choice. So that's those. Oh man, there were two in the bottom as well. Oh, what have I missed? There's some screws supposed to go somewhere else. And 5x10. It actually says all the step numbers on the bags as well. I didn't acknowledge it was on every bag, so you can see here. If it's going to focus, if it doesn't, you won't see it. M5x10, step 2 and 3. So, there you go. I'm now going to have to turn it upside down, which was not a part of the assembly, so I won't put it down. So, need to stick some screws in these holes under here as well. Judging by the stiffness that I've already found, I would say these may be unnecessary, but they are here, so I shall put them in. To the top. Oh, you can't see anything. We've done the top one, so it's bottom ones now. I suppose you can't not see anything. You just can't see the close-up if I forget to move it, rather. The advantage of having so many camera angles. One of them will always be pointing in the right direction, hopefully. It's going to be quite difficult to get to the bottom one, so I'm just going to flip it over. And I'm going to remember to move the camera. Hey, look at that. It's almost like I've done this before. Come on. Oh, by the way, don't forget to like the stream if you enjoyed it so far, and subscribe to see more of these. I do actually have, hopefully, more printers coming in the future. So we'll be able to do, my aim at the moment, having done these for a couple of weeks now, is to try and do a live stream once every weekend of a build assembly like this. And then Wednesdays, 5 PM BST, or GMT, depending on the time of year, we'll do the normal video. So evenings, weekends, builds, midweek, normal videos. That's the plan. Hopefully we can keep it up. This aluminium looks a little bit stressed during that fold because I've done like a 0 internal radius fold to match this, and yeah, I wouldn't say that's particularly great practice. It looks like it's all cracked and they've just covered it with paint. But it is strong enough, I think. Personally, I think the screws at the bottom are kind of redundant. These ones at the side seemed to be fine. Unless they've got some testing that tells them they need them, I may be inclined to go without, because it does make for some difficult folding and seems to be a little unnecessary. Given that I didn't even notice that they were available until I double-checked the manual. So that's side, bottom, onto the printer. So we've covered 1, 2, 3 now. 4 is to plug this little cable in here. I won't bother showing you that. I think everyone knows how to plug in a cable. Easy peasy. Step number 5, lead screws. So single Z screw, obviously, you can see, just like the end of 3. Printers this size, I actually don't mind single lead screw. It's not perfect, but for this price point, I would not be unhappy with it at all. You can still get really quite good results. So, yeah, not a problem, I think, for this price. Notably, this is not a flexible coupler, it's a rigid one. And it doesn't look very circular, so that's going to cause some problems. So we've got some guide here. I mean, it's so dark, you can't actually see really what's going on, which is a little bit unfortunate. But there you go. It also is not saying whether they would like you to have the... Is some grease on this. Oh, that's pretty nasty looking. So we do actually have to back this screw out a little bit before we can get it in. We'll back both out. Yep, that's going in now. Sorry. Okay, so I just want to show you the wobble on this lead screw, which goes well above the top of the frame. It doesn't, for a start, it doesn't hold it very well at all. Like, barely holds it at all, in fact. There's nothing to keep it straight. I mean, that's like 10 millimeters of movement, which is going to cause serious artifacts on the print if there's no compensation for it on the vertical part. I've forgotten the word for it, the brass nut thing. And it looks like that's rigidly fixed, so this is going to have some interesting artifacts, I think. We shall see. So now we've got a little bit more sub-assembly to do. We've got this little thing here. I'd love to be able to get you a affiliate link for all the people talking about the Sidewinder. I think I did an unboxing. Yes. I'm pretty sure I did an unboxing, a live stream like this for artillery. So if you'll want to get one, as the prices are clearly quite low at the moment, I would be very much appreciative if you would head over to that video, just do a quick search and you should be able to find it, and use that affiliate link. That would make my day. So step 6, M3 by 6mm screws, and don't need that. Step 10, and also this one, hexagon column. Oh, that's too big. I'm a little bit confused as to where this is supposed to go. I think in here. But I haven't the foggiest what it's for. So 7 step 1, it immediately jumps to a cable. So put this to one side. This is obviously where we want this long cable. Interesting. So the sheath is just too long for how they've wired it, or it needs to just be pulled to the ends or something. They just leave you to work that out on your own, I think. If we pull that up to there, that might help. I don't know. No, it's just too long. It's just too down long, so it makes this horrible bubbling at the end, and not a lot you can do about it. Shame. So we've got FLD, Z, E and X. So X and E are definitely the motors. Z switch. FLD. Filament load detection. Probably. It is. So, so now we've got to get these assemblies on here. There we go. So that's obviously one end. It's interesting that they put this assembly on here and you add the whole carriage in afterwards. That's a slightly different route to what you would expect with what you have with the Ender 3. That cable was nice and secure in the back, so it doesn't look like there's much of a risk of that coming out, which is good. X will be this one here. Filament low detection is here. Z motor, oh no, Z, that's going here. What on earth is this? Oh, the end stop switch for Z is at the, what the hell? What the hell? What on earth is that hitting? So it's here, there's this switch for the Z. What on earth is that contacting? Is there Z axis limit module. There you go. Have to do that in just a moment. So, as shown above, installing the 4-in-1 terminal, then the 2 key slots on the metal sheet part. Users can use a cable to fix the da-ba-da-ba-da. There's a mother terminal, which is this one down here. Got that plugged in. Step number 8 is the bar across the top. Hopefully the uppy downy doesn't make anyone sick. Ooh. And now we need another size tool. How long ago did I ask people to like and subscribe? I have no idea. Just in case I forget again for the rest of the live stream, which may well happen. Don't forget to leave a like. Yay! There's also a link in the description if you'd like to buy this machine. It was not provided free of charge. I paid for this myself, believe it or not. So, nobody extra to thank. But if you would like to support the channel, it does help me immensely if you do want to buy one, if you use my affiliate link. It doesn't cost you any more to do that. Just means that they know when you buy the product that I sent you, and as a result, excuse me, I'm very sorry. As a result, they provide me a small kickback, a small percentage of your purchase to say thank you for sending you. Ooh. Gloves are being noisy. 7.3, step 8. Step 9, carriage belt doobly-blue. So we've got carriage here, belt here. I must say, after that first belt disaster issue, we are definitely doing a little bit better. Oh, I think they wanted me to put this on here. Oh man, I'm stupid. Always pay attention to the instructions. Now I have to take off this entire assembly because I wasn't paying enough attention. I bet somebody pointed it out as well, didn't they? I know, nobody can point it out. Because I'm the only one with the instructions. Right, which way am I supposed to put this? Like, oh, well, that's not going to fit. Just as I was saying, the assembly was going okay. I think it's actually, it'll be fine. It's just the alignment of the V-slot wheel. I'm sure all this would be quite confusing for a new user. So from that perspective, maybe not the best, but that'll do. That'll do, donkey. That'll do. These are Wera hex keys. Wera spelled W-E-R-A. Oh man. They are quite pricey, I should warn you. But if you do a lot of assembly, it might be useful. They have a kind of ball end rather than straight end. The advantage of that is that you can tighten things from a broader range. So if you don't have direct access straight towards the hole that you're trying to assemble to, you do it from a slight angle. Downside is you can't really hold a screw on the end of it as you move it towards the location you're trying to assemble to. Right, that's that job done. So now we're back down here with this belt. So this looks like they use a similar strategy to Ender 3, where they're using these little brass clips on the end of a belt to give it something to hook into. Strangely though, we're just doing it on the desk because that's what the step says to do. And now I'll do something else. Okay, sure. And 4x8. So step 10 screws. 2 of those. Spare screws, cool. I'm not going to need those. Good that spare screws are included though. That's always nice to see. Step 13. Oh. M5 by 18. I did see M5 by 18 screws earlier. Ah, I appear to have already used them. So when did I use the wrong screws? Oh, these are the two M5 by 18s. And then M4 by 8s. It's the M4 by 8 that it looks like I don't have. M4 by 8. Step 2, step 3. Hopefully there's some screws in here that will do the job, otherwise that's going to be a little bit frustrating, isn't it? These look like they're M4 by 8. How have I got a method to check? Whip the calipers out quickly. Yeah, 8mm long. Cool. As long as it was only 2, then we have what we need. Yes. M4 boat-shaped nuts. It looks like they've just not bagged this step properly, and everything's just in this thing, in this spares bag. M4 boat-shaped nuts. Okay, I think that's supposed to be those. 2020 profile, M5 by 18. The boat-shaped nut may rotate during installation. Users could use the screws to fix it on the aluminium profile. Oh, it's already on there. Why don't you tell me these things? Yes, they're already on this assembly. In the bag next to the spanner. This one's spares. Spare screws. Says spare screws. And then there's this Z-axis thing. Be a touch mount. I think I've got everything. There's just some confusion in their location. Noticeable change of deflection when I tighten that screw. I think this, because of this bracket, this is not quite square, it's all sort of, yeah. Those annoying little nuts are not going to go straight. There we go. It's weird how narrow it is, but I guess it's not really that narrow. Some concerns about overall tolerancing. It's going to be a could bind up, I think, a little bit. I guess some adjustment, given that it's available, can be possible. Reading ahead? No, that's like spoilers. Step 10 is done. Wow, there's 22 steps. How? They must be getting quicker. There's barely any parts left. Step 11. Put the thing on the thing. Belt's on the wrong way around. Teeth need to be facing inwards in order to obviously contact the teeth on the pulley. Ah, but of course that needs to go under those. This belt's too short. That's going to be a stretch, I think, to get that idler in. This is too short as well, man. It's not going to be a good look. How am I getting this wrong tool so many times in a row? It's too short again. Isn't it? Oh man, I think it might just be long enough. Just barely. That is incredibly difficult to turn for some reason. Oh, this is super tight. It does seem really difficult to move in this direction for some reason. Strange. So where are we? M4 nuts. Tighten those. Onto this. Need this now. So this is our whole extruder, not extruder, hot end carriage, which for some weird reason is connected with a USB-C cable, because why not? USB-C cables are fashionable. It just seems daft to me. Of all places to use a non-locking connector. They've obviously thought, oh look, USB-C can take a fair bit of power. Let's use it for our main connection. Like, you never need to remove it. Why would you use USB-C? It's just, in my mind, that's just so far from the right thing to use, it's unreal. But that's what we have, so that's what we're going to be testing. There's actually a second 3D printed part on the back here. So this part is printed as well as this down here. I'm not sure what this is for. It's also not assembled correctly. You can see this screw. You can't see the screw. Please focus, please focus, please focus, please focus. This screw in here just is not screwed in. Looks like it didn't fit, so they just didn't bother screwing it in. They kind of started but didn't bother to finish. Don't worry, sir, let me do that for you. It's my printer after all, let me just do it. Okay. So this step is M3 by 8. Piece 2. Good thing is it looks like this whole hot end assembly could be quite easy to replace, given that it's just fixed using these 2 screws, and they look like they could be in a fairly easy place to just use anything. So if that hot end, oh no, I'm going to have a closer look, because this could be a real big problem for this machine. Right, let's have a look. Yes, disappointment of the day. So the hot end that's being used here is the same one that's on the Two Trees Sapphire Pro. It's rubbish. Like, really, really bad. I guess they had to save some costs somewhere, and I guess we found out where. So, I mean, these 3D prints that they've added are pretty bad as well. So that's going to be a massive disappointment. Maybe we can still get some decent prints, but I had so much trouble with that hot end. Like, I don't have trouble with many hot ends at all. But the one on the Two Trees Sapphire, man, it just blocks, and it's not good. So, if you are looking at getting one of these, or you already have one, you may want to start looking for modifications for an alternative hot end, because this one is going to be pretty low performance, I can tell you that. Based on my experience, anyway, with a Two Trees Sapphire. Maybe it's slightly different inside, but from the outside it certainly looks to be exactly the same as that Two Trees Sapphire one, which did not perform well in my testing. Okay. Step 17. Are we at step 17? We're not at step 17. We're at step 15. This feels like it's taking a lot longer than the Ender 3. Maybe because I've not done one before. So that's going to hang off there. So this is the spool holder at the top. I do kind of like that it's angled. It gives a little bit of, I was going to say je ne sais quoi, but that's not the term I was looking for. It'll give a little bit more room for the spool to hang off the side to get a better line for the filament sensor and extruder. But unfortunately there's no brass insert there, so regardless of that it's going to have a fairly tight bend and probably going to wear out and cause a jam. Filament holder. Next, step 17 is some cables. So we've got this cable. So as I mentioned, we've got the USB-C cable that goes one end into the hot end. Oh, come on, man. And we're in. And the other end goes down here. Everything in the middle is just random, so yay, that's fantastic, said nobody ever. Let's hope they have some cable management tips. Ooh, they do as well. So, tip numero uno. There's a slot here. Cable tie it to here. Yes, sir. But before fixing the data cable, users would better leave a certain length at the Type-C cable's end which closes to the nozzle. It facilitates the movement of the nozzle. Of course. I mean, that, holy moly. The filament cable's way too short. The Bowden looks like it should be quite a bit longer, to be quite honest. Looks like they've cut length. I mean, if we're going full print volume, that's there. Look how tight this cable, this one's the filament path. It's really tugging there. Maybe it'll be okay. Seems a bit much to me. Fortunately, USB-C cable is a bit longer. But it is still a USB-C cable. And then I'm going to zip tie it down here as well. So we get some, so it kind of follows that Z cable. Looks like that's kind of the intention. Of course, that's not a locking connector, so it could come out at any moment. Right. Okie dokie. The Z limit switch. So I think we're going to find out what this little hole was for earlier. Indeed. So this little hole down here. As Z limit switches go, That's terrible because this is a full compression and there's barely anything to move. So you can move it a very small amount, and there's a big hole in the top of that nut. So is that going to matter? No, that alignment should be okay. But then you can move the bed as well, so I guess it's kind of okay. It would have been nice if this screw and spring can allow for a much greater adjustment. It wouldn't cost much, I don't think, for a slightly longer spring and a slightly longer screw. And apparently that's everything. So is there anything else in this at all? Oh yeah, platform debugging. Anyone need to do some platform debugging? I think it means auto leveling, or bed leveling, I should say. It tells you just to use the paper method for bed leveling, which is not unreasonable. So I know how to do that. I'm not going to follow the instructions any further. That's going to be enough instructioning for today. We want to print something. Well, certainly I want to print something. I'm presuming that you do too, otherwise you probably wouldn't have stuck around. Righty, righty, righty. There are lockable USB-C cables. They sound a lot of fun. Right. This is the part where everything goes boom. Tell you what might be better. I mean, I want it there. So I'm going to chisel this a little bit. Hopefully that gives me a little bit more space. Yeah, I think that's all right. That's going to look down here. So you've got the bottom left screen for looking at the overall view. There we go. Good shout for checking the power supply voltage switch. It's actually totally inaccessible, but it is set to the correct voltage. I think they're nearly always set to 220. I don't think in the UK I've ever had to change them. But yes, you're right. Definitely worth checking before powering on. Should probably have mentioned that in the manual, actually. That's all part of the fun. Okay, I need to find a power cable that's available. This one. Can't reach it. Right. Let's see what's going to happen when we plug it in. And contact. USB-C cables coming out already. What the hell is this for? Oh, that post is the limit switch. Oh, that's fantastic. My voice just broke. What the hell? It's like, quick, we need something that sticks out really far. What have we got? That. Let's use that. Okay, so like this, you can just accidentally pull it out. Does this meet the criteria for this spanner? No, so there's no actual way to tighten it with the provided tools. You just have to put it in and hope it doesn't fall out. So, let's power it on and see what happens. No printer attached. Well, isn't that just an absolutely fantastic start? Oh, man. Hopefully the exposure is clearly a little bit not quite right. It's not liking looking at that. Let's see if I can adjust it a little bit. No, that's not worked. No, it won't let me change it. I'm afraid that exposure doesn't want to change. So, yes. Oh, it says ready now. That was weird. Okay, so I'm going to take these gloves off because they're getting a little bit uncomfortable. Pending PR with an updated B1 config in the Marlin configurations repository. Nice. Yeah, the no printer attached is to do with the serial connection between the two. I guess, as Keith has pointed out, that communication does take a little bit of time. Presumably the TFT screen boots up a little bit quicker. Maybe, I'm not a software expert, maybe it's simpler firmware that's running on it and it starts up quicker. So until the board starts up and the communication all works, it just says nothing attached. But it looks like we're ready to go now. So let's go. Well, it is super silent, I'll give it that. Power supply is a little bit noisier than I might like, but the motion is certainly on the good side. Is this limit switch going to trigger in time? Yes. Too soon, in fact. Well. Oh, they've really screwed the pooch on this one. Oh. Anyone remember how I said like 30 seconds ago that there needs to be more adjustment in the Z limit switch? Well, these are at the maximum height pretty much. I think a couple of turns and that wheel's going to fall off. It might be just enough, but that screw is already right past the end of that wheel. And this is already at minimum. So this is as low as it can go. This is almost as high as it can go, and they are not quite touching. Oh yeah, we have, I mean, you can also just hold this for 3 seconds if I remember correctly. Yep, I've got one of these on the other printer. So you can switch over into the Marlin basic setup. You have to do a quick turn, and there you go. You can change the configuration to use the full screen, but I do like having that option to switch between the two. It's really useful. Pressing touchscreen for 3 seconds or holding the knob down for 3 seconds will allow you to switch. Pretty good, but not game-changing, I would say. It's just kind of useful. A good sort of useful. Yes, we need to level this bed. Calibrated leveling paper. Oh, we got our leveling. Hello. We're doing it cold. Probably not a good idea, but it'll do for the first print, I think. Motion is quiet, as expected. But they could definitely do with some improvement on their Z limit stuff. Oh, I guess to be fair, it is working, so maybe I'm being overly critical. I quite often am. Am I going the wrong way? Don't think so. Am I going the wrong way? Nope. Think about there. Point number 4. Again, they've not enabled 0.5. Why does nobody enable 0.5? There we go. That's that. So can I? No. Yes. So that needs to be higher. So it looks like there's a bit of warp in the bed, unfortunately. That should do. But I've been lazy and done it cold, so we could have some adjustment when we start the print as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying there's no way to work around it, but this is the printer brand new. This should be working. And I guess we've got it to work. But if I was providing feedback to them, which can sort of happen in these sorts of videos, I would provide some more adjustment. Yeah, I'm not saying there's no way to work around these things. There's always a workaround. I find it difficult to think through some of them while on a live stream, but that's besides the point. Right, let's get this heating up. And as far as I know, oh, that's emergency stop. Settings. So you got there's loads, so much stuff in these settings, it's unbelievable. There you go, Marlin mode can be in full screen. I don't know if it'll do it immediately, will it? Hello? Oh no, man. It did not like me doing that, did it? I think we're going to go for a standard benchy. Oh, they have a... They've got two models on this micro SD card, but I don't know how long they're going to take, so I'm just going to slice my own. I'm going to use basically the Ender 3 profile that I used for my first print last week. It's my standard Ender 3 profile in terms of speeds and accelerations, but I've adjusted the build volume to match the BIQU. So if I can find the files, which for some reason I'm having difficulty with at the moment, then we shall have a quick slice and start a quick print. So as before, we'll do a 60% benchy. In fact, oh no, that's the wrong Ender 3 profile. Oh. Might try some slightly faster speeds because last week it was quite slow. We're not going to manage it in 20 minutes. Oh, I forgot to save it to the SD card. It's 30 minutes. It's not super fast. 36 minutes, sorry. Not super fast, not super slow. This is disappointing. Marlin mode just seems to have stopped for a bit. Oh. I hate micro SD cards. Oh, please tell me you caught that. For those that missed that, I tried to put the SD card in the slot and it just fell through the hole and I dropped it. So now we can either try and shake it out or we have to open the printer. Oh dear. Should have just gone with SD. Or I should have just used USB. Where are you, my little trans flash card? Please don't tell me it fell out when it was... What? Where are you? There we go. You little shit. I'm going to put it in now. Oh, come on. Oh, this is really not a great design. The spring wasn't triggering in this slot, so... Right. Put this bendy bottom panel back on. Let's try again. Oh, man. It's really not been my day, has it? No, I can't get this darn screw back in this stupid hole. I'm just going to ignore this screw for now, because there's no way that goes in that hole. Well, obviously it's supposed to go there, but it's not going to. I don't think, unless I can somehow shift. Oh, there we go. Give up. Oh, is that the wrong screw? Is that why it wouldn't go in? No, that's for this. Why could I not get this hole? Screw back in this sodding hole. Okay, that's just not in straight, but it's in. Power! Yeah, it has the world's thinnest flexible steel sheet. Oh, we've got LEDs now. Oh. Forrest Schilling subscribed. Thank you very much for subscribing. Loosening the other screws to help a lot. Yeah, oh, I probably should have retightened them actually, because I didn't retighten all the other ones which I'd loosened. I can't be bothered. This will be good enough. Hopefully that leveling is not going to have changed. Let's try printing something. Oh, we need filament. Preheat. PLA. PLA. Both. 260. That sounds reasonable. Filament. Filament, filament, filament. What filament do I fancy using today? I like using grey for the first print because it shows what's up quite well. Looking. Can't just find a roll of some normal-ish PLA. I think I need to restock on normal PLA. Let's see if we have any more difficulties loading filament like we did with the Ender 3. So, filament sensor, through there, to there, and we're in! Mildly impressed. Not sure what the cleanliness of the bed is going to be like. Oh, I have this surface cleaner sachet from the Prusa Mini, which I've not used. I think it's just a IPA wipe, so we'll just use that very quickly. While it's hot, not a good idea, but better late than never. Cool. That's stinky. Okay, looks like we're hot, so TFT SD card, Benchy. This is a bit of a problem, isn't it? You can't actually see that screen because of the... let's not worry about the screen. Let's see if you can... If you can see the print, I think that's not too bad. Let's get it up here, I think that's good. Right. Hopefully now my work here is mostly done. It's just get to sit back and watch a Benchy print. This is Pusherman. This is going well. Right, let's have another go, shall we? Looks like it homed in a totally different place to where it did first time. There's no real... oh, yeah, it's not very tight, is it? There is no tensioning mechanism. I thought I pulled this reasonably tight when I did it, but it would appear not. That's now really tight. I don't want it too tight. Levering, I think, is probably a bit overkill. Menu, movement, home. Home all. It's homed to a totally different Z height. Right, let's go through all this leveling again. Leveling, 0.1. Point 2. Point 3. Point 4. The expat alignment doesn't look level at the bottom. Not totally sure what you mean, but I'm not sure that matters. Goodbye, Mr. Maker. Thank you for joining us. For everyone that's enjoyed the stream, please don't forget to leave a like. I sound like I'm begging. If you enjoyed it, just leave a like. If you don't have to. Up to you. Quite a few people, and it seems to be quite an entertaining stream, hopefully. So, yeah, they're not quite parallel, but they're also not far off. I don't think at the angles that they're at, I don't think it's going to make a very big difference. As long as it can home consistently. Okay, it's got the M900. I forgot to cut the little text off the bottom this time, so this printer is going to have a bit of a harder job than the Ender 3 did, but good nonetheless. Nathan just subscribed. Thank you very much for subscribing. Watch the bottom of the X belt as it moves from left to right. It does seem to be jumping a little bit. The tension, I still think, is not quite enough, maybe. I've just looked at the preview, actually, of the live stream, or the actual live stream versus the preview that I see in OBS. The quality seems so much worse. It's a bit disappointing, but can't win them all. It's reasonably quiet overall. Where's my drinking bottle? The motion is actually really quite impressively quiet. If you've not used TMC 2000, 2208, 2209, etc. series drivers with the full microstepping, you would be very surprised by the silence or the lack of noise by the movement. However, the fan is a little bit noisy. Yeah, this tension is not quite aligned, but it's also quite difficult to pull it really tight and pull it straight all at the same time. But guys, like, this fraction of a degree is going to make such a minute difference to the dimensions. If it was like 1 degree or 2 degrees, then yeah, I'd agree it would definitely need changing. But it's a fraction off. I'm more concerned about the tension. You can see as the tension, you might not be able to see with the detail you can get actually, but you can see the when it moves back and left and right, you can see the tension change in the belt top and bottom as one becomes slack and one becomes tight. It changes very slightly the path the belt takes, and it's not ideal. Obviously, the start G code where it just printed off the bed at the front, don't judge that too harshly. That's just my Ender 3 start code. Again, the M900 command again was not really meant to be there. It looks like there's a baby stepping option in the menu. So if we needed to change the first layer as it's going a little bit up or down, that could be useful. What are the more options? LED color, features, heat. Oh, it's a lot. I don't really want to Blue LEDs, green LEDs, red LEDs, white LEDs. I don't think that's much of a use. I think when I do a bit more testing on this, any issues with this lead screw are going to be a lot more apparent. I don't think we're going to see much of an issue with it on this particular print, just as of how small it is. It can be very difficult to see small issues on small prints. I think it's because you routed the belt through the bottom up. No, the belt on the X goes on the underside. It goes in towards the bracket and then through down to the little clip. So the clip's like here. The belt comes in and then down, and then the little brass piece is underneath. If you're talking about Y or X. X this one, Y this one. Yes, that probably would be a correct assumption. Z-safe homing would be wise to have enabled. So it does come actually with a BL Touch bracket. It's obviously very simple. I'm not sure what that hole spacing is supposed to attach to. Oh, is it? Yeah, I guess you could attach it to here or to here. Seems a bit odd. There's a very long way away from the... It's not that far from the nozzle actually, I suppose. But, yeah, because if you're homing, this homes to the back, this is going to be in this corner, your BL Touch is going to be right off the front and not going to trigger. But then I guess it's using the firmware setup is not using BL Touch for homing. So when you have a BL Touch, it doesn't necessarily mean you use it for homing. Most people do, but you don't have to. I guess what they've configured in the firmware is to always use the ZN stop for homing. And then if you want to set up auto bed leveling, you probably saw the menu option. Actually, you probably didn't because it's really blurred out, whited out, whatever the correct term is. Yeah, they've probably just have a BL Touch or 3D Touch if you have a clone for the auto bed leveling feature separate to homing. Oh, okay, I think I know what you're talking about. So the mounting points on the carriage for the belt are lower than here. So both of them by default, instead of going straight across, they're both going down towards the center. So when it's close to one end, one will be steep and the other will be shallow. And as it moves across, they'll both move towards middle and then the other way. Across the top, which I think you probably can't see quite as well, it does look pretty level, but obviously that's not where it's connecting, it's below. Again, it's not ideal situation, but you can't adjust the height of this, so there's probably not a lot you could do to change that. How bizarre. As soon as I started printing and stopped building, the number of concurrent viewers has gone up by 10. Maybe I should just have a printer and just watch it print. It's going to be new content for Vector 3D. Watching printers print, like watching paint dry, but slower. I'm joking, by the way. I'm not going to be doing that. There just seems to be a slight squeaking sound coming from the printer. I'm not sure which axis it is. Watch a printer paint. Ooh, now we're talking. "3D printers painting in 2D. Isn't that what everyone wants to watch? If anyone has any questions, by the way, now is a really good time to ask. Mostly regarding the printer, but I might be able to answer other things too. Maybe for those that missed earlier on. Do we have a time remaining? No, but we have 29% completion, so 12 minutes in, so that gives us about 22 to 23-ish minutes remaining. I don't think I have the End of 3 one from last week, unfortunately. I think that one might have disappeared already. So there won't be any immediate comparisons, unfortunately. I'm printing at 0.2 layer height with a 0.3mm first layer, and then all the ones after that are 0.2. It's only 60% though, so when I show you at the end and things look way worse than you're expecting for the size of a benchy, that's going to be probably normal because it is really tiny and it is a really zoomed in macro lens. So it can make stuff look really, really bad when it's actually pretty good. I don't know immediately how... Oh, hello. I don't know immediately how easy it's going to be to add a BL Touch. There were no instructions, but the fact that it comes with that mount included suggests that it should be fairly easy. And the menu options suggest it's already also enabled. So I can't say for sure. Hopefully they'll have a guide, or maybe I'll do one, I don't know. They'll tell you how to do it. But there's a port on the back. There's also a smart filament sensor switch. So I don't know if that's any smarter than this one that's already included. But there is a little plug in the back for you to be able to plug in a BL Touch. So you'd have to get, well, maybe standard wiring might be long enough. I don't know. But it looks like it's already enabled in firmware. So could be a very easy upgrade to add. But as I mentioned, do be careful of homing with that BL Touch poking off the end. The End of 3 being 0 and the Prusa Mini being 10, where does this sit? So you're a... Oh, that's a difficult question. One number cannot sum up the entire experience of a 3D printer. Comparing to a standard Ender 3, the fact that it's got this springy steely plate, nice. Touchscreen with a knob, also very nice. Decent BIQU Tech control board, good. Nice stepper drivers, also very good. USB-C cable, really very not good. Hot end, from my experience, if it is as similar to the the 2-tree Sapphire Man, why are these names so difficult? If it is as similar to that one as I think, it's very bad. So this one could be very bad. But we seem to be doing okay so far. But it looks like the hot end could be fairly easy to upgrade. Obviously that will involve changing cables because you've got this USB-C. It may involve, well, it will involve firmware configuration, some design, some printing. You may be able to find Thingiverse files, but I don't know if there's many around yet. This printer is quite new. What usually causes Z banding? Can't get rid of it in the next one. Is it extrusion or axis shifting? I always hate these terminology things. So isn't Z banding the one with repeated features, in which case it's going to be something repeated movement, which probably means it's lead screws that are not central or something like that. Yeah, if it's a repeating pattern, you could probably calculate exactly what the pattern distance is and what you would expect from a misaligned lead screw to identify if that's causing it. What version of Marlin did it ship with? I don't know. I didn't check. I shall have a look. I don't think I can do it at the moment. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's going to be an option there. Yeah, I'd say this is better than a basic Ender 3. It's very similar to Ender 3 V2, which is just there. This has a touchscreen, which the Ender 3 V2 doesn't. V2 Ender 3 also doesn't have a filament sensor or spring steel sheet. So I put this above Ender 3. The Prusa Mini, though, man, that's a totally different ball game because you get so many profiles, but it's smaller. You get spring steel with Prusa Mini. You can get filament sensor as an option. It's still Bowden, so there's that. It doesn't have touchscreen, but it does have a reasonably good interface, and it is quite quick. Prusa Mini has much better filament capability. These are all still PTFE lined hot ends, I'm pretty sure. So they might advertise like 260, but in reality, you're going to be burning the flipping PTFE if you try that. So generally, I find 230, 240 is really realistically about the limit. Even that can be pushing it. Although, hang on a minute, I think the Prusa Mini doesn't have all metal either. So yeah, I'm not sure. I might have to double check that. I'm not going to try do that while it's printing. I know I probably could, but I just don't want to risk it. Yeah. Prusa Mini is PTFE lined, which is what I thought, but Bontek's an all-metal upgrade kit. So the Bontech don't do hot ends. They do a dual extruder kit. Are you mixed up, or am I misunderstanding? Oh, and a heat break upgrade. So they've just made a stainless steel heat break. How are we doing? 55%. Man, sitting like facing towards these bright studio lights for hours cannot be good for my eyes. It probably doesn't seem that bright from your side, but really bright in here. It's like looking towards the sun. That's why early on I always used to like frown in my videos, and everyone was like, "Why are you so angry when you do your videos?" It's just because it's so bright. Just kind of, it's like shine your eyes from the sun. Of course, with the Prusa, by the way, of course you get Haribo. I don't see any Haribo with this. I mean, I'm not sure I trust it, but it did come with Haribo. But confectionery treats while building are quite nice to have. This is all getting weirdly tangled. I think like the lower part of this machine is pretty good, but this part of this machine could do with some work. Which I think kind of makes sense, right? Like the mechanics are basically very similar to what you'd see in other printers, but everything underneath I think seems to be where BIQU have some experience, like control board, touchscreen, etc. They've done that stuff. That's why they've just plunked their own products in there. The rest of it, the top half, a lot of it is obviously copied from Creality's Ender 3. These brackets on the side are a bit of a curiosity, but do seem to work. But this hot end, it's an interesting one. Does the Prusa Mini support a V6 heat break? Okay, it looks like that's already been answered. Yes, because the way the heat break mounts on the Prusa Mini is different. It doesn't screw in; it's grub screwed into the heat break, into the heat sink. So, what you can probably do, the Slice Engineering Copperhead. I bet that has a compatible option. That would be pretty badass, wouldn't it? While this is printing, I'm going to have a quick look at the Slice Engineering have this configurator. This is not sponsored by Slice Engineering. They have a configurator. I've not actually used it before, so I'm going to go test it out. Hopefully I can find it. I can't find it. select your printer. Do they have Prusa Mini? Coming soon. So yeah, it looks like they don't have. Looks like their current heat break for the Copperhead won't be compatible, or is not compatible, I should say, explicitly not compatible with the Prusa Mini. Which is a shame. I bet it's really close as well. It's just not quite. It's just so expensive. I give it 3 months before there's a Copperhead heat break for the Prusa Mini on Triangle Labs. Yeah. How are we doing? Are we getting there? Sort of, yes. These are the balmiest nozzles. Of course, what you don't get with this is a nice little drawer to stick all the stuff in. It's actually been quite useful in the Ender 3 because when I get like printer after printer, like, humble brag, when I get printer after printer, it's useful to keep the stuff that I got with it with the printer so that when I do a review and I go, this is the stuff you get with the printer, I have them with the printer. Like this bag, if I don't do a review for this very soon, I'll probably lose it. And I'll have to go back to this live stream and double check exactly what came with it. Another pair of side cutters. I must have like 10 pairs of side cutters now. Yep. This can go back in there and make a nice hole in the bag. Yeah, I think I do want to find out more about Triangle Labs, but I'm pretty sure they're just a reseller. They're reselling Runnis products, and Runnis, they sell genuine products. They make, well, sort of anyway. They do make high quality stuff that is on high performance printers. High performance printers that you will have heard of, I'm sure. So, makes sense. "77% of the way there and 29 minutes 48 seconds, so approximately 5 minutes to go, and we're towards the top of the benching. Yeah, I don't know, well, I don't have exact information on the supplier that E3D use. I would guess it's not just one supplier. I think that would be unwise, and I think they would know that. although maybe also wise because you don't want to give your information to everyone, but relying on a single supplier for everything you sell is also not particularly great practice as far as I'm aware. Sorry, might be rustling in the microphone. You may find that companies are making products specifically for a reseller to sell because they know they could be troublesome in some areas, so they go, okay, well, these products are only going to them. For anyone who hasn't already, don't forget to leave a like if you've enjoyed the stream so far. We are getting towards the end now, so you may be running out of time to do it before the end of the stream. I am planning to do more of these, perhaps one a week on this approximate time, Sunday evening, if that continues to work well for me, which it has been so far. You can subscribe and hit the bell to get being notified for new videos, which are Wednesday afternoons, 5 PM British summertime, or GMT +1, that is, 5 PM. And then we'll do these on Sundays. I've got, I think, 2 printers, 1 agreed, 1 pending for the next few weeks. There may not be one next week, depending on how quick things arrive, we'll see. But hopefully there will be, because I do quite like getting new things and taking a look at them and being very judgmental about their performance and decisions. Overall, actually, I know there's been some not ideal things in this build, but now we've got it printing. Now we've got it printing, I think it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. We'll need to do a little bit more in-depth testing, obviously. This is not a full review and my final opinion. This is first look, no more than that. Look at that. That's some high-speed bridging right there. I'm not sure there's much I can do at the moment, just waiting for this to finish. Nearly 11:30 my time. Does anyone else see the weird kind of glow on this stream? Is it just me in this weird little preview or what? Or maybe it's a low quality preview. Oh, I don't want to be messing with that. I'll worry about that another time. Good that we finally got the audio fixed. That was a rather frustrating issue that randomly occurred, but at least it's out of the way. Oh, we're getting loads of bugs in. Yeah, probably should have thought about that. I've had to keep the window open to stay mildly cool. It's looking okay. As I mentioned earlier, because of the size of the print is very, very small, some things look really bad and some things which you may expect to see, you may not. So any Z banding from this axis you may not see because it is fairly detailed and it may not be visible at this size. Overall quality is looking rather good. Stringing performance is a little bit better than we saw with the Ender 3 last week. But I guess that's to be expected. The Bowden tube is a little bit shorter, and maybe the geometry of the hot end is sufficiently different that less retraction maybe is required. There is still a little bit of stringing, but probably, yeah, I'd say probably fixable just by a couple of slicing tweaks, just slightly increasing the retraction. But then also it could be that the hot end is just not great. Yeah, the Type-C USB will be, I mean, it's being used right now, so it's not like it's only for that. But why not? Why do you need USB-C for it? Like, it's just a connector with cables. The cable itself is not hot, which I suppose is good. It just seems such a bizarre choice. Of all things. Who says that's a hideous pink colour? Oh! That is the most surprising and unnecessary beep ever. Ah, scared the living daylights out of me. Hot end's just oozing. Detached fairly easily from the build plate. First layer, I'm not going to judge too hard, just because it's probably mostly my fault for not being very careful with my leveling process. Almost certainly some under extrusion can be seen from the base of the bed. I'll show you a little bit more of a close-up in a minute. Chimney looks really good, so indicating cooling performance is relatively decent. There doesn't seem to be huge evidence of Z-banding. Again, maybe not something that's going to be easily apparent at this size. There is some stringing, but it's really very light wisps rather than any thick strings. The overhang bridge performance looks pretty reasonable. No massive issue. There's a lot of spikes on these retractions, so at the end of each layer, it's obviously the retraction performance is not ideal. It's leaving some of these little spikes, which are not great. Yeah. See if we can. Yeah, USB is not cheap. It's a fairly fancy connector. But of course, you only need one compared to... Oh no, I suppose you could just have like 10 pin XT. You can see what I mean there by the under extrusion on the floor of the main bed there. It's clearly under a little bit. May not be much, but it's definitely visible. You can see some what looks like maybe inconsistent layer position resulting from the lead screw. I'm not totally sure yet. We're going to have to do a straighter print to really identify that. Overall, that is, yeah, definitely pretty good. not to be stiff now. I certainly wouldn't be worried about my purchase with this as the first print. That's pretty good. Right. So with that all said and done, that is going to be it for me today. I'm exhausted. 11:30 now. It's been quite a long day. My throat's starting to ache as well. All this talking. If I just talked at quite a volume, it feels so unnatural. Anyway, now I'm just talking weird. Stop it. Okay, so yeah, don't think there's much more to add really. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Thank you very much for watching. Like it if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more. Hopefully we're going to be doing more of these. Aiming for weekly, but there'll probably be some that I miss. The certain weekly ones are the normal videos, Wednesday 5 PM. So that's going to be it for me today. Thank you everyone for joining in. It's been a really good stream, I think. I had some issues with the printer, largely can be overcome, like from the user's perspective. Some other things cause for concern, but I think a little bit more testing, a little bit more time will identify what really is going to cause longer term issues and what's just things that I don't like. For a first look and first print, I think we've done rather well. Nice little benching, not too bad at all. So yes, that's going to be it for me. Thank you everyone for sticking around, and I shall see you in the next one. Do I normally say that for live streams? I don't think I do. Anyway, bye for now.